Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Cardano's ADA, taking a look at what's been going on most recently, what we think is likely to happen next, and all that wonderful stuff. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe. Tap the bell, select all the notifications, and you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out? And let's get right down into this one, right? Cardano paired up with USDT on the hourly chart, and Binance is our data source. Now, I'm going to probably delete all this in a second and kind of just reflect on a few things, because we have come down a little bit lower than we were expecting. You can see that we wicked down here a little bit earlier. We were talking about 30.73 and 31.59 in the previous videos. So we probably need to review why we came down lower than this, and does that change anything? So in order for us to do that, I'm going to go ahead and basically just remove this analysis off here, and then we're going to redraw things and see whether or not our opinion on the market has changed, given the fact that things have altered in the way that they've kind of gone down. So let's go ahead and review this. Okay, so we had this peak up here into our supply zone. Okay, we can see that right at the top there. That's okay. I'm not too concerned about that. We can see that we have an interesting kind of structured move to the downside here. Now, it's very clearly 3 waves. We can't make this a 5-wave move or anything like that. So we have to kind of consider that maybe there's something a little bit different going on with this structure. Is it a diagonal? And this is actually just, you know, the beginning of that. So let's go ahead and just start marking these up, right? So we can quite clearly see that we do have 3 waves in here. It goes down in 1, up in 2, and then down in 3, or A, B, and C, or W, X, and Y, however you want to look at that. Again, we have a very similar situation. We created a little overlap here, so we have to look at this as 3 waves as well. So we'll come up here as 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, and the same similar scenario right here. When we come up and then we come back down again. So this looks like a bigger 3-wave structure to this point. So I'm going to quite happily go and take that as a 3-wave structure right inside there, and it looks pretty decent. And what we'll do is at this point we'll just do some sense checks on our fibs, see where these kind of have ended up, because we want to make sure that we are on the right side of things. So here we can see that we came down close to the 1.236, but not quite on it, so we're right in that little zone, so that's okay. Let's go ahead and remove that for a second. We can also see that we then moved up, and then we came down in what appears to be a 5-wave fashion. So right inside here, we can kind of see 5 coming down to this low, we then come up, we have 5 coming down to this low, then we have a diagonal of some sort, or maybe it's a little bit small one down here, can't quite place it, but 5 waves nonetheless. It would look something to this effect. Now, 5 waves starting here is interesting. Now, is this a part of a 335 correction to this point? And that could potentially mean that what we end up with is a 3-wave structure that, if I were to readjust this, it would look more like that, and that could then lead us into a very interesting position. We then move up, and then we move down again, and again here we end up with a straight drop, and then we move up, and again we create a little bit of volatility right inside here, which is also quite interesting. So it could be that this is then a much bigger play altogether, taking us down a little bit deeper. And as I said, right, we go 3, we come up in 3, we've come down in 3. It looks like we're going up here in 3 as well. Then we start this really overlappy kind of corrective structure down with some kind of expansion towards the end. So it could be that that is actually a part of a much bigger play. And I want to do some sense checks on this area here as well. So let's go ahead and grab our fibs, run this on. And the reason for this is what I want to do is I want to check to see whether or not this is an expanding an expanding diagonal, and it doesn't appear to be the case. So that's, well, I say it doesn't appear to be the case. It could be from there, actually. Let me just sense check that. One of the things I'm trying to do here is I think we have the ability to kind of think of these diagonal structures sometimes as a little bit simplistic, and I think we might have something rather complex going on here. So we do hit a 1.618 from that angle, come up, and then we have a big wave 5. It could be that that's actually a much bigger diagonal with a expanding diagonal within that final 5th wave movement. And let me show you what this looks like, right? So if we come in here, we would have a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4, and then a final 5th wave down lower here. And this one here would have to be, see if I can find it. Yeah, we'd have to have this as a three-wave structure, and we have a lot of overlap in here, so we could argue that that is with a string of corrections all being pulled together, potentially even a string of regular flats, regular flats, and maybe even some kind of zigzags in places as well. I think for the most part, though, this would be a pretty obvious place for it to want to end, and if that is the case, then this would basically meet the requirements of an expanding diagonal. If I go ahead and snap that to there, you can kind of see how this expands out like that. And the requirements for this are quite simple. Wave 3 cannot be the shortest. Wave 5 would be the longest, and it would meet all of those requirements within there. And the reason for that, and if we bring that back down, and why I wanted to kind of delete everything off and start again, is that we can think of this entire thing here as a potential wave 1 to the downside. And the reason for that is that if we were to think of this as a diagonal in itself, it would basically be 1, 2, would come down here for 3, which hits the 1.618 up into the fourth wave, and then down here into that diagonal at the very end. Now, my only issue here is that we shouldn't really see this kind of diagonal, this kind of expanding diagonal within this particular structure. You wouldn't normally expect to see it. But it is a way of kind of looking at the market. I'm not saying that this is actually something that is going to play out, because it does really test what could be possible with an Elliott wave theory. It's a big test of it, I'm not going to lie. So we're going to kind of see how this one plays out. It's a possibility, because I can't think of any literature anywhere that I've read that says that we cannot physically do this structure, but it's not one I would say is something that we'd see very often, if ever at all, to be honest. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on it. Now, with this particular idea, we've done one of two things here, right? We either are in this diagonal pattern, or alternatively, we are in something vastly different, which we can articulate because we haven't created any invalidation. So if I go ahead and remove this, and we just think, okay, we had a 5-wave drop here. What if this is the beginning, right? This is then a wave 2, and all of this is a wave 3. Okay, so if I remove this and I remove this, we end up with this extension within wave 5, right? Which is possible within a regular impulsive structure. We'd never hit any invalidation levels right here. We never hit the invalidations. So we know that the wave 4 did not cross wave 1, so that's okay. We also do have to our disposal here a nice way of kind of looking at the market within our structures, right? We can see here we have a potential diagonal at the beginning of wave 1, which is fine. Then we move up, and then we come down here with an extension in the 5th wave, and then we move up again in 3, and then we have this move. Now, this one is very choppy, specifically within that middle section, and this is why I don't think it's really necessarily a good diagonal structure, but it is possible, is that we have something to this effect, right? We come down, we bounce up, we come down, and we do that. Okay, so we can kind of see we have 5 waves in there. It's not great, it's not ideal, but then inside this structure overall, you then look at this and think, okay, well, we have a wave 1, a wave 2, which is not a good wave 2. We come down into a wave 3, we go up into wave 4, then we come down into wave 5, and then we end up with this trend structure to the downside. I think it's a little too soon to really kind of call Cardano in terms of exactly what structure is going on. One of the things I'd be pretty confident on at this point is that we see there's a little bit of volatility where we are right now, but I think we're getting close to a local low and ready for a bit of a bounce to the upside. It'll be interesting to kind of see how the weekend plays out. We've got a lot of things going on in the real world, right, with various different banks kind of crashing down all around us. We've got the government and the SEC and all the nonsense that goes on over there in the US, also having and playing a part. We do know that we're bearish on Bitcoin long term, and I think Cardano is going to also get kind of pulled down with some of that as well. But ultimately, long term, like super long term, outside of this bear market, I do think that Cardano is going to perform incredibly well. Now, outside of Elliott wave theory, we take a look at smart money concepts. We can also get a very good confirmation of this, right? So on our hourly chart here, we can see that we had let me grab my pencil, change a characteristic up here. Okay, this was basically confirmed up in, the 22nd of February. Okay, we kind of got this change of characteristic, basically indicating to us that we were moving down. So change of character from bullish to bearish. We then got this confirmed with a break of structure over here on the 28th of February. We then get a continuation of this with another break of structure that happened over here with a closed position on the 8th of March. So this is basically telling us a very good, clear cut picture from smart money concepts that we are bearish. We haven't changed the direction yet. We've got some minor stuff going on, but actually zoomed out here, we have change of characteristic, going bearish, confirm bearish, coming down even lower, right? So this is something that we also saw over here with change of character to bearish, we had the confirmation that we're down in bearish, and we had that continuation. We dropped down a little bit lower. Then, of course, we got this change of characterization going bullish, but it didn't last very long. We got that broken as well. Okay, so we can see that, right? We always wait for change of character, confirmation, then we can short the market. Now, if you're going to be trading, guys, there's some fantastic news, is you can use Bitget, sign up to Bitget with our link in the description down below, and you can earn some cash back, right? So if you deposit at least 50 USDT, you'll get $10 USDT, and there's a whole host of additional benefits all the way up to $8,000 deposit bonuses and various different things that you can kind of get on with. Now, using the link in the description down below, and if you join us in our Discord server, you'll be able to take part in our weekly competitions that we run in the Discord server through Bitget. Basically, they're trading competitions. You just do your active trading, and the person who has the best ROI percentage in that week will win $100 USDT, and that is something that we are doing at Cheeky Crypto down in the server. You won't find it anywhere else, so check out the link in the description down below. I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down in the Discord, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by using Bitget. It is the only platform I'm using now for my trading, so why not take advantage of the offers if you haven't done so already, linked in the description down below. So as I was saying, going back to the chart here, if we're to trade this, I'm always waiting for that BOS, that break of structure confirmation that we're moving in that downside, and we can kind of jump in. Now, you don't jump straight in. You always wait for those retracements because, you know, equilibrium, price loves it. So we can see here, every time we've kind of broken, even this change of characteristic here, we moved up briefly before we come down, right? We get confirmation that we have the break of structure. We moved up briefly before we continued down. So if we were to short the market, we'd wait for these kind of breaches, a little bit of a rally, and then we can kind of find those positions. Now, you have to obviously analyze the markets outside of just looking at smart money concepts and stochastic RSIs and that kind of stuff. I like to mix Elliott wave theory with smart money concepts, and it helps me trade a lot better. 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗓 is in the description below if you're looking for more details on these and these kind of trading concepts. Now, as we can see down here, we've got a couple of things that have occurred, right? So let's find what we've got. Where were we? It's all the way over here, actually. And we've been bearish for quite some time on a smaller time frame here. So we can see that we had a change of characteristic, break of structure. We rallied up, right? And we can see down here, we've got break of structure, break of structure. We came back up into this area here briefly, and then we got another break of structure, another break of structure, another break of structure, another break of structure. You can kind of see how this is really going down quite a bit, right, on this hourly chart. So this all goes back into February, late February, and we can see it here. Now, we did get right down at the very bottom here. Let me actually go ahead and clear out all my little drawings here. If we come back down to the bottom, right where we are right now, we did see that last break of structure come down into what is currently a weak low, okay? And we've got a new bullish change of characterization at the minor level. Now, it's a minor because it's not a solid line. It's just a little dashed line here, right? So we know that we are temporarily going up, but in order for us to continue that move upwards, we're likely to come down and then move up and get a break of structure, at least at the minor level. Without the break of structure, I don't want to go long. I want to get confirmation of the move. But, you know, we can jump in early if we have a tight stop loss and all that kind of stuff if we really wanted to be trading. Ultimately, I'm looking at price moving up towards our equilibrium. So essentially, that's kind of where I am kind of targeting out, I think, for the long side of things. But expect price to go down before we go up, even just a little bit. It would be basic in ABC, right? We're looking at corrections through Elliott wave theory. We'll be looking at something like that effectively, right? So we'll be coming up into this area. Now, up here in this range, which is basically 31 to about 32.71, this is a sell order block. So we will know that there's going to be a lot of resistance up here. So if we're to go long, bearing in mind we're against the bigger macro trend, okay, it's risky. We want to go with the trend ideally, which is down. So we want to be shorting the market. We don't want to be going long on the market. Now, there's a long opportunity here, although it might only be brief. On this minor time frame, this is really where the pockets of shorting opportunities are, right up into the slightly higher range of around 32. Now, there's also one up here at 33 through to about 33.49. You can see this order block right here as well. So we'll be looking at that now. As I said earlier, down here we have a weak low, which basically means we're likely to come down and go down lower. Okay, now up here we have a strong high. This basically is an indication to us that we are not likely to pierce past this high at the moment. Okay, so it's not an indication that we're likely to do that. So at the moment we end up with the idea that we are going to come down lower than this local low, but we are not yet ready to kind of short the market. So there's potential for a long if we really wanted to with that bullish change of characteristic at the minor level, but ultimately I'm expecting price to come come up more towards kind of the 31.7 through to around the 32.7 into this little area. Possible that we push up a little bit higher, around 33.1 through to about 33.5, possibly up in that higher range there. But really the resistance is going to be equilibrium, which is basically a 50% fib level between the discounted range and the premium range, or the low and the high, essentially. Okay, price likes to gravitate in there. Now, as I scale this up and we take a look at the daily, we can take a look at this. We can see that we've got no real gaps remaining here on our daily chart. So we kind of pushed up here quite a bit. There's actually should be a gap right here. It's not there. I'll draw it on manually. I don't know why 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗡 doesn't seem to want to always draw these on. I'll draw it right here. So yeah, essentially this is a gap that was left behind. We can see it right there. Okay, this gap is 28.06 to 29.55. This is an area that I think we are likely to gravitate down towards. We've already filled this little minor one right here. Let me show you that so you can kind of get an idea as to kind of why price came down here. You can see it's come back down into that gap that was left behind. There's also one a little bit lower here as well. Don't know why 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗧 is not drawing these on. That's not helpful at all. But there you go. And you can see this one down here as well. So you can see that these gaps, the fair value gaps, imbalances in the order books, are places that we're likely to kind of revisit. I will also point out on this daily chart, we have a weak low. Tells us that we're likely to come down and we're likely to go into new lower lows. Now we can see that we just got rejected from equilibrium. Not a coincidence. We have now a bearish change of characteristic to the downside on the dash level, but we never actually broke the bigger bearish structure anyway. So the trend has always been down for Cardano here in the same way that it has been for others. We do have that strong high as well. We can't ignore that. So ultimately, we're looking to go down on Cardano. That might be welcomed news to many people. That might be disastrous for others. I don't know where you sit on the spectrum. I hold a lot of Cardano. I believe that Cardano is going to perform incredibly well in the future, but I'm also not going to lie to you guys when I think that the price action is likely to come down and test those lows once again. I'm going to leave the video there. If you found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and you will not miss another video update. Other than that, guys, have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.